What's up, metal and heavy music fans? Today we are ranking the albums of Limp Bizkit. Alright, that's right, Limp Bizkit tier list, and let's just dive right into it with Dolla Bill Ya'll in 1997. I wouldn't call this a great album, but it's got some solid tracks and is a foundational one for nu metal for better or worse. It's produced by Ross Robinson, too, of note. Got some pretty heavy bangers like Counterfeit, Stuck, and Pollution. And I know that a lot of people hate that Faith cover now, but my inner 14-year-old still smirks and sings along every time it comes on, and ultimately, this was a song that really launched them into the mainstream with radio play. Inconsistent, but I've got some nostalgia for it. I'm gonna put it at B tier. Alright, Significant Other. What a jump so quickly early on for them. This is produced by Terry Date, and this is where they really formalized their sound and became the powerhouse that they were in the 2000s. This hit #1 on Billboard 200 and also had some critical success. I still unironically enjoy this album quite a bit. You've got some classics here like Nookie and Rearranged, but my personal go-to will always be Break Stuff. Talk about the perfect song for a bad day. We've also got some big guest spots here with End Together Now with Method Man, Nobody Like You with Jonathan Davis and Scott Weiland, and No Sex with Aaron Lewis, who isn't exactly someone I'd brag about having on my album these days, but was getting huge at the time. I'd also call this one of their most consistent albums, which makes sense given the mild conceptual through line we've got going on here. And also, I just wanted to share of note, there's a critical quote from Les Claypool of Primus from around the Woodstock 1999 fiasco, where he said of Fred, his attitude is no press is bad press. He wallows in it. I have used that exact phrase, in fact, in my review of the new album, and it just further confirms what I've been saying about Durst. He absolutely calculates, or at least harnesses, almost every hate click that he can get, because let's face it, it works. I'm gonna put this album at S tier. Alright, then we got Chocolate Starfish and the Hot Dog Flavored Water in 2000. What a name. I can't believe that this album is old enough to drink now. I was just starting high school when this dropped. Everyone I knew had it. It also hit #1 on Billboard 200 and sold over 1 million copies in its first week, which was the 4th highest first week debut that year, just behind, get this, the Marshall Mathers LP, NSYNC's No Strings Attached, and freaking Oops, I Did It Again. Which just serves as a reminder of just how big these guys really were at the time. I know some people turn their noses up at this music now, but at the end of the day, bands like Limp Bizkit, Slipknot, and Linkin Park were responsible for bringing a first taste of metal to a massive audience that otherwise never would have discovered the genre. So, my hat's off to them for that. But back to the album, this also has one of my favorite album intros of all time. I mean, all of us were imitating the Chocolate Starfish in the Hot Dog Flavored Water. For songs, Hot Dog is corny and outdated, but still fun nonetheless. Same goes for My Generation, with another classic era appropriate music video, complete with Fisheye Lens. And then of course we have some more major staples here in My Way, Rollin', and the Mission Impossible inspired Take a Look Around. I actually forgot about Exhibit until I re-listened to Get Ya Groove On.
What's up, y'all? It's X to the Z Exhibit, and we here at the house of Riley Freeman, and we about to pimp his grandfather's car.
And then we've got some more guest spots here with Scott Weiland on Hold On, and DMX, Method Man, and Redman on Rollin' Urban Assault Vehicle. I'd say this album isn't as consistent as Significant Other, but it's still a nu metal classic that, like it or not, we will always remember. My dad has Are You Experienced? We have freaking Chocolate Starfish. I'm gonna put this at A tier. Alright, then it's Results May Vary in 2003, and this is where things started to really kind of go downhill for Limp Bizkit. This is the only album with Fred Durst fully driving everything since Wes Borland left in 2001. Mike Smith of Snot briefly stood in, but I guess a lot of the guitar work here was recorded by a number of different people, which explains the overall uninspired riffing. Even the single Eat You Alive kind of sucks. There's this super boring riff that actually sounds like it was lifted from an American Head Charge album, which when you sound like a recycled riff from a band that was already late to the game and considered part of the lower ranks of nu metal, it's a problem. Almost Over is super repetitious, Take Home is bland. Gimme the Mic is a bop though, still nothing special at all and kind of a faded photocopy of previous material, but it gets my head bobbing. And Phenomenon is also kind of fun with its very Primacy sounding bass hook. By the way, actually hats off to the bass player on most of these albums, really. Like, that's one of the standout musical elements. I know we all talk about Wes, but Sam Rivers also does some really great work. The softer tracks like Underneath the Gun, Take It Home, Build a Bridge, and Down Another Day are just boring, though definitely not their worst. More on that later. Not even a Snoop Dogg feature can save Red Light, Green Light, nor can Halle Berry's appearance in the video for Behind Blue Eyes change the fact that this is one of the lamest covers of all time. Also, 18 tracks, ugh, way too much. I'm gonna put this one at D tier. And then we got Gold Cobra in 2011, so a long gap here between albums, but we're back to the original lineup. Wes really bringing it with, appropriately, Bring It Back. Another riff here that sounds like some early Slayer stuff in how heavy it is. And as much as I wanted to hate on the single, it's really not bad. It actually brings some of that early 2000s vibe right down to the Lambo and Bikini Girls in the music video. A few other decent bangers here too, like Shark Attack, Get a Lie, Shotgun, and Why Try. It's not all great, but nothing is really offensively terrible either. Even Walking Away is okay for a softer track. It actually has kind of like a Perfect Circle vibe to it. I actually avoided this album like the plague when it came out, but I have to admit it's pretty fun, albeit somewhat stale. I'm gonna put this one at C tier. And then finally, we have Still Sucks in 2021, and once again, I'm going to point out just how old I feel realizing that this album comes a full decade after Gold Cobra. But despite its name, it actually does have some really fun tracks. Dad Vibes is corny, but pretty infectious, and then there are a few straight bangers that I want to add to my playlist, like Out of Style, Dirty Rotten Biscuit, and my personal favorite Turn It Up Bitch, with its A Tribe Called Quest-sounding stand-up bass. But unfortunately, outside of that, the other like 70% of this album is pretty much pure garbage. The acoustic tracks on here are some of the worst they've ever done, even the cover. And then tracks like Barnacle are really just terrible. This is not a good album, but the good tracks I would say are at least better than the best tracks on Results May Vary. So I'm going to also put this at D tier, but just a little bit higher. But for more of my thoughts on Limp Bizkit Still Sucks, check out this full album review and also this new metal band tier list for my rankings of all of the classics. Also, let me know how you would rank these albums down in the comments. Different opinions always welcome. But that'll do it for now. Flight of Icarus signing off. I will see you in the trenches.